The views and opinions expressed at Enhanced Down Under are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official views of the company. Any content provided by our hosts are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Welcome to Enhanced Down Under. This is episode 12 and we are the official podcast channel of Enhanced NT. My name is Anna. I am a qualified education agent counselor. Okay, let's have a recap of our previous episode where we were joined by an international student, Kat, who shared with us her academic journey here in Darwin, Australia. In the previous episode, Kat mentioned about her student life here in Darwin and the challenges and triumphs she encountered, and she even gave us a glimpse of her activities even outside school. It was a beautiful journey for her, and of course she looks forward to finishing her studies here in Darwin. Today, we are joined by another special guest and someone who not only found a new home in Darwin, but also plays a significant role in helping others do the same. So joining us is Mr. JAIRUS LANSANG.
Hello.
Yeah, he is a seasoned consultant and a brilliant professional IT guy and a proud permanent resident of Darwin, Australia. Hi, Jairus.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jairus.
Yeah, Jairus. So, how are you feeling now?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah.
Thank you for coming here and for accepting our invitation.
Yeah, anytime.
Right. So, okay, let's start. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hello. My name is Jairus. I live in Darwin. I help with Enhanced NT. I do part of the consultations too. I do mostly the IT work that's needed to be done. I'm here with Miss Anna, and we're doing this podcast right now, and I hope we entertain people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Jairus, let's start with your journey. You started as a student in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so what motivated you in leaving the Philippines and moving to New Zealand as a student?
Honestly, my parents. It was my parents that kind of pushed me to study in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
I was an analyst. I was a business analyst in the Philippines for 3 years, and then my parents were kind of pushing me to you should start kind of thinking of studying for higher learning.
All right.
I said try to look for schools, try to do while you're still young, and eventually I came to a point where I was like, what if I do it overseas? Is that okay? And they were like, yeah, if you can find a school,
They were supportive.
Yeah, they were supportive. You can find a good school, nothing too crazy, not too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Not like Harvard, that's going to cost a couple of million, nothing like that. Eventually, I found a good school that I liked. It was in New Zealand. It was Wairiki. It was a polytech.
What is the name of the school again?
Wairiki.
Wairiki.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did everything myself. I did the, what do you call that? The applications. I did
you didn't hire an agent?
No, and for that one I didn't.
You do it yourself.
Because I thought that's how you did it. It was my first time, so I did everything myself. I did the applications, I did the emails, I did the the letters they needed. Then eventually they emailed back to me and they were like, yeah, we're happy that you did everything yourself. You're technically accepted, but if you could, please use this agent. They gave me an education agent back in the Philippines.
So eventually, they also referred you to one agent.
Yeah, but it's for free. I didn't pay for anything.
For free already.
Yeah, because it was a partnered agent. Because actually, I did everything myself.
It's just for formality, I think.
Sort of. I think it's more of just they helped me with the visa process and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So at least with that one, I didn't have to go through passing the papers by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I did the medicals. I did everything they asked me. I did IELTS for that one. I passed the IELTS, and then eventually I was head off to New Zealand.
What year was that?
If I remember correctly, it should be 2017.
All right. And how long did you stay in New Zealand as a student?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
All right. How was your experience? How was
Oh,
the
it was-
academic experience in New Zealand?
It was great. It was great. The good thing about where I studied, it was the biggest polytech in the whole country, right? So the resources they had were meant for the whole North Island, for the whole. So it felt good to come to a school where you could see from like the movies and the TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you go to our schools, it's nice, but it doesn't feel like what you see on the TVs, right? It's like it's not cold, and they have like these auditoriums that are massive going upwards. You had like the flagpoles and everything. It was a great school to go to. It was such a new experience for me, you know, especially with the libraries. And the good thing was, I didn't know anyone in New Zealand.
Oh, you don't have family there?
No. And that's what I liked.
That was a bold move.
Because it felt like, you know, it felt like a crutch sometimes. Like it doesn't affect everyone, but if you go to a place where you have your own people, you have your own network, you have your own support, you don't feel as vulnerable because you always have something to fall back to. Versus if you go to a country that you don't know anyone.
It was just you.
Yeah, it was just me. Like you have to be more careful what you do. You have to think about your actions. You have to think about
You
what
have
you're
to
going
be
to do
more
next.
responsible.
You have to be more responsible, you know. Like sometimes we get too spoiled, like being back at home in the Philippines, in Manila. You get too spoiled, like, oh, my parents are here, my family are here, my friends are here, my support network is here. So me going there, it was like a good move of like, you know, growing up, more growth, personal growth.
It helped you grow as a person.
Yeah, because, you know, like you just try to make less mistakes when you're there because no one's going to help you by yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to find your own people, your own new friends, your own new network that can help you.
And you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
see.
The thing was like, you know, we have activities there or even here in Australia that you can't find in the Philippines sometimes. Like one of the best experiences I had there was I did volunteering for a summer camp. You know?
All right.
So you know, like summer camps in the U.S. where a lot of the kids would go there for summer. They had like the log cabins.
In the Philippines, kasi we don't have that.
They don't have that. It's too hot or too dangerous to be in the forest. But I did that because I was staying in Rotorua, which is a smaller town. And I did volunteer work to like tour the kids to the summer camps, you know, like teach them, oh, yeah, these are the logs, these are the cabins. And sometimes you always see like, I wonder what it felt like if I grew up here, you know, like you get to join the summer camps, you get to be like a Boy Scout.
Just like what we see in movies.
Just like on the TV, you know.
So what made you decide to leave New Zealand and move here in Darwin?
Well, it's because it's family mostly. My sister lives in Darwin. And, you know.
And how long has she been here in Darwin?
Right now it's been 10 years now. It's going to be 10 years.
Oh.
Yeah. She moved earlier than me. Then a couple of years I moved after. She's been here for 10 years. And I feel like it's easier for our parents to know that both of their kids are in just one country.
Yes.
And the time difference is easier too. Here it's an hour 15 for Darwin, and then back in New Zealand it was 4 hours I think.
All right.
And then we had daylight time savings too. So sometimes it goes up an hour and down an hour.
Yeah, that's the advantage of Darwin is it's very near Asia. Its proximity to the Philippines, like it feels like home. Even the weather is almost the same, right?
It's a 4-hour trip, one direct trip. We used to have like a direct plane trip back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah, they used to have that direct flight to Darwin. Now, either you fly to Singapore and then Singapore to Darwin, or Manila to Singapore, then Bali to Darwin.
Yeah, you can do Darwin to Bali, then Bali too.
All right, and then what year was that when you moved to Darwin?
2019.
2019, just before the pandemic.
Just before the pandemic.
How was it then? You mentioned earlier that parang there was a shift in the lifestyle.
Sort of like just the trends, because even before I moved to Darwin at 2019, I've been here a couple years before to visit my sister. So I've been here twice. Once during the wet season, once during the dry season. And during my experience with the wet season, the first time, like Darwin felt like a ghost town. You know, no one was here. Only the locals were here. It felt empty, you know. And I was like, how do businesses survive if there's no one here?
Wet season here begins in October, right?
Yes.
October up to March, end of March. Okay, so wet season is The rainy season.
It's kind of like the Philippines technically, but since we're in the southern hemisphere, the seasons are inverted. So when it's the dry season in the Philippines, it's the wet season here, and then the wet season here, dry season there. And the thing was like, the first time I was here was wet season, and it felt like it was so empty. And then the second time I was here, that was the dry season, and that's when you see like the city shine. Like a lot of the backpackers. We got the
festivities.
Yeah, we got this. What do you call that? The silver nomads. Silver nomads are like retirees from Australia. They bring their caravans in. They park at the caravan parks, and then they just spend their money, enjoy the weather. And then we have, what do you call that? Like people who run away from the cold weather. They go here because it's warm here. Yeah, that's where you see the city shine.
Right, that's fantastic. So. I know that you mentioned that you have a sister here, and what do you think is how important it is to have a family support when you migrated to another country?
I guess that depends on what you're looking for. Like, I feel like if you have family support, it's a blessing.
It is.
Like not everyone can have that opportunity to have like family support. Sometimes some people don't. And that's fine.
You have to strive.
You just have to, find it yourself. There's always going to be a community that will help you, especially here in Australia. Australia is a multicultural city, multicultural country. There's always going to be people who wants to help you. There's also going to be services that are going to help you. But then, having family here is a different. It's a different scenario. It's a different setting. Like, for me, it didn't feel as much because when my sister moved here in Australia, she was just by herself. And one of the reasons I moved to New Zealand was I didn't want to be in the same country as her.
You want to create your own
I wanted to, like explore on my own. Like now, we're much older. When she moved here, she was.
So you think you can integrate with her?
No, like I have no issues with the relationship. It's more of just like I just want to explore myself, explore like. Go through a situation where I have to be more mindful of what I do, be more careful. I can't be as reckless.
And it's made you grow as a person.
Yeah, because especially when I was a bit younger back in the Philippines, like you felt like, oh, I'm here. There's nothing that can go wrong. I'm in my own country. Just and all that stuff.
But it's different when you.
It's different when you move to a different country, especially like. The thing is, Rotorua is where I moved in. Is a 10,000 population of 10,000, 15,000. It's a really small town.
It is.
So it's a vast difference if I move to Auckland or if I move to Sydney here versus moving to to a smaller. If I move to, I don't know, like some small town here in Australia, it's a different environment, different feeling.
So you recently became a permanent resident, right? Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a good gift.
Yeah. So tell us about it. How got us through your journey of becoming a permanent resident?
Well, I was kind of lucky when I got it because I got it last December, just when I arrived. I was on holiday back in the Philippines, and the moment I arrived there, I got a message from Miss Carol, one of her agents. And she said, "Oh, you finally got the residency." And that felt like a good, Christmas present for me and my family. Like, oh, that's a good, that's a good kind of way to land. It was a bit of a long journey, A lot of factors are involved when you're trying to go for permanent residency. Sometimes it's more of like being at the right place at the right time. Sometimes luck is involved. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes. It's not just purely I have to be there, got to put the work in, That's like a good amount, but then sometimes luck is also involved. With mine, technically Miss Carol, she was my migration agent. She was my sister's migration agent first, and then
she eventually became your migration agent too.
But at that point, we were looking at options for me, and then eventually they were looking for an IT person, an IT guy, and I could fill that role. And
Enhance.
It was a different one. It was an earlier one.
It was, okay.
But the thing was like, it was the right place at the right time because that could have been anyone, anyone that she found. There's so many people that's done IT. I'm not like some special person, But since I was there at that specific
So it
time,
was a perfect timing.
yeah, and no one would have foreseen that for the most part.
That is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember like your preparations that you made, like any requirements, particular requirements? Because some they even have to have this work experience of at least 2 years, and then the
Yeah.
skills assessment test.
Yep.
Did you undergo those? Did you have to go through those?
Excuse me. So normally I got lucky with that one because I was a business analyst in Manila for 3 years. So that was the minimum requirement they had.
Oh, right.
I was an analyst. I had done the IELTS, and I did pass the skills assessment. That was mostly the requirements that you need. Plus working, have local experience here.
The work
Yeah,
experience.
a good thing was like my skills assessment and really working three years as an analyst back at home.
All right. So people, just for information of everyone who is interested, to become a permanent resident, it's not an easy journey.
Yeah.
You have to have that experience, education, qualification, which should be equivalent to Australian qualification standard or framework. So the skills assessment, you have to have that. That's the English language test.
Yeah.
So I think the minimum for the English language test would be 6 for IELTS. So plus of course the experience, the work experience, not just overseas but also here in Australia. If I can just mention, we have clients that require skills assessment test, but they were not able to lodge their application yet because their work experience overseas, back in the Philippines, were not counted.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they have to have that at least 2 or 3 years work experience in Australia.
Yeah.
So that's why other than you have to have that education qualification and that English language skill, the work experience in Australia, it also counts.
And then sometimes I think like the higher you can go with your scores in the English tests
Yeah.
also affects the points that you have.
Yeah.
So that might be a deciding factor.
Especially for the point system, right?
Yeah,
For the point system, or if you're migrating independently.
Yeah.
So the point system, it helps if the higher score you get in IELTS, the higher your migration points score would be.
That's one of the things that helped me too.
And it's difficult. I'm hearing a lot of people who are taking IELTS many times because they are not able to
there are some people
achieve
that
required band score.
Yeah, the band score. You can do the IELTS, you can do the PTE.
The PTE.
My opinion, sometimes the PTE can be easier.
That's what I heard also.
Yeah, because I think just the way they've designed the tests, you're all on the computer, a bit more practical, a bit more. There's no human person involved. There's no.
It's purely AI.
It's purely computers.
Computer.
Yeah, because with IELTS, when you do speaking, you have to talk to a person, and sometimes their judgment could be a different kind of
that's the
criteria.
disadvantage.
Sometimes, and sometimes like I feel like IELTS, if you're doing some of the questions, they felt like more logical questions. Sometimes I'm looking at a question, I'm like, this could be right, but the other answer could be right too. That's what I felt like. Versus PT, it's more of like black and white. But I feel like they're both the same. But sometimes, depending on your person, it could be PT might be easier for.
Yeah, both are internationally recognized anyway. PTE and IELTS. So it's just up to the person which one
but I
you'd
think,
like to take.
Like one of the biggest things that people should always think about is to find like a trustworthy migration agent, find a trustworthy electoral responsible.
I like that, yes.
Because I've worked with Enhanced NT before, and I've seen other clients, I've seen other people, and we've had people come in and Ms. Catalyst consulted them, and sometimes she would be like, why would your migration agent say this? Or why would migration agent say that? We've had some clients where she was like, you could have been a resident here for 3 years ago, but since you weren't advised properly, you're still here. You're still like a student, you're still like in limbo, you don't know what's still going on.
You're just going around in circles.
Yeah, it's kind of
wasted opportunity.
I feel like it's kind of hard sometimes to look for resources to find out if your migration agent is a trustworthy one. When you look at online, when you look at resources, you don't know who would be fit for you. But at least now with Google reviews, with like podcasts like this, with people sharing their experiences, I think that's one thing that people should think about. Like with me, if I didn't meet Miss Carol, my sister didn't meet Miss Carol, because Miss Carol did my sister's PR. She did my her citizenship, all her visas.
All throughout,
Yeah,
down to the citizenship.
And even with me, technically she was my migration agent too, and she was still helping me up until the end. Like not everyone can have that same experience. So at least like now with this kind of podcast, with this kind of messaging, we could at least tell people that that's also a factor in what can help you.
Yeah, I just want to share the experience of one of our clients. They're from Captain Barber.
Oh yeah, the one in
It's
Casuarina.
a Filipino-owned business, and they said that they're clients. And when I went there to bring my son for a haircut, they mentioned that, ma'am, when they learned that I'm from Enhanced NT, oh, I'm your client too, and I'm very happy that we found Enhanced NT, and we will be referring you to our other colleagues too, because it's very rare that we are able to speak to our migration agent face to face, and we can even drop by to your office. And when we send you a message, you abruptly reply, and they are given very informed advice, so they can have this informed decision. They're very appreciative of the type of service that they are receiving from Enhanced NT. So yeah, you're right in that. Finding a reliable and reputable migration agent is very helpful. It's a significant step in securing your permanent residency in Australia or in any other country.
Yeah.
Right. So, did you have any difficulty in integrating in cultural integration?
Not as much, to be honest.
Really?
Because it wasn't my first time leaving the country. Like I moved.
You're well traveled. Can I say that?
In a way. But in a sense, it wasn't my first time moving to a different country. Like the biggest difference for me was when I moved to New Zealand. I was a bit younger. I was living in a dorm. I've never lived in a dorm. I was supposed to live with a roommate, which didn't happen because he moved a couple of days after. But that was all a new experience for me. That was like the massive shift for me. Like this one was a bit easier because when I moved here, my sister was here. I already knew people here. I've been here twice, so it's not like a new environment. But then the good thing about Australian culture is it's not really a hard culture to integrate with. Australia started as even up to now, it's a multicultural society. It's a culture we've had a lot of people coming in before. Some of the Chinese earlier Chinese with the railroads. We got the Greeks, the Middle Easterns back in the day. So it's a mix of everything. It's a melting pot and all that stuff. So it didn't feel like going here and I'm like, where am I? Everything's so new. And for the most part, I feel like a good basis of Australian culture is being a relaxed and laid back person.
Yeah.
Every time you meet like an Australian person, it's like they're just relaxed. They're a bit laid back. Especially here in Darwin, that's the vibe of the city you get. Like if you go to the big cities, that's where you're gonna feel like, the hustle and bustle, the movement, everything is quick. Versus when you're here,
like everyone is in a rush.
It's a bit. Everyone's a bit in a rush, and you can understand because everyone's fighting for the trains, for the train stations. Everyone's trying to get home. The traffic's not as bad as what we get in Manila, but there is still traffic. Some people still get stuck in traffic, especially during rush hours. Versus here, when I say like, yeah, I'm gonna stop by at 2, I'm gonna get there at 2.
You'll really be there at 2.
Yeah, because like we're a smaller city, easier to just travel here, easier to get around. So yeah, it's not too much difficulties in integrating with the Australian culture. It's not like a very specific culture that you have to be like insert yourself into. As long as you're open, as long as you're positive, as long as like you're not closed-minded with talking to people, interacting with people, everyone's going to be pretty chill here. Everyone's going to be pretty relaxed.
What can you say about the cost of living here in Darwin? What I always hear about people before me flying here is lifestyle or the cost of living in Darwin is pretty high because you are at the top end. It's kind of remote.
It's true.
How is it?
The thing is, in Darwin, the cost of living is higher than in the southern cities, in New South Wales and all that. But normally, what they did was they matched the wages to kind of reflect the cost of living. normally wages here are higher. Like if you go to Sydney, if you go to like Aldi, and if you compare the prices in Aldi to like we don't have Aldi here in Darwin, but if you compare the price to Woolies to an Aldi or like Woolies to
Aldi
Woolies,
is like a grocery also?
yeah, it's also like
Okay.
it's a shop, so it's a market too. You would be like, why am I paying? So one of the things I buy I love capsicums, bell peppers for non-Australians. I love capsicums, and I always buy them every week. And normally one capsicum per kilo here could be $4 a kilo. And if you go to like Aldi in Sydney, it could be like $2, $1 per kilo, something like
that's
that.
a huge difference.
So you're like, why is it that expensive? You know, because but then again, you know, they have more resources there, they have more people versus here, and the only way for delivering products and goods here in Darwin is through road trains and all that. So that's why it's a bit more expensive. But normally the wages here are higher too, so that counterbalances the higher cost of living. So if you do end up working here, if you do get a job here, you'll be surprised that you're actually getting paid more, because sometimes there's like regional pay, regional differences. And then some people, when they move here from other cities, they get like bonuses for moving here because some of the positions are harder to fill.
They offer those incentives.
They do. Some of the companies they do, because sometimes some of the positions they're harder to fill here in Darwin compared to.
Because of the labor shortage, that is to encourage to attract more people to coming to Darwin.
Yeah, because we've had a trend that we've always been at a loss in net migration. So, you know, we always need more people here. We always need more people that can contribute to the community, to the society.
That's the sad part. There's always a labor shortage. There are shops that are closing down, not because they're not getting enough customers, but because they don't have people to run the business.
Yeah.
Short of staff. They don't have food servers. They don't have chefs. Oh, another very in-demand occupation here, cook and chef. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
skill shortages.
the skills, we need that more here in Darwin, and we wish to attract more people. And it's good that, you know, we have one permanent resident here who is sharing his story with us. So what about since you are now a permanent resident here, do you have any future plans or?
I do want to study again. One of the benefits of being resident here is you don't have to pay for international student prices.
So it's a domestic fee. Like you are considered a domestic student.
Yep.
Oh.
So since I'm considered a local resident now, like the only difference between a permanent resident and a citizen is I can't vote.
You cannot vote.
Yeah, I can't vote and I don't have the passport. But everything else is the same. So I can study again. I do want to study again, and then. But the good thing about Darwin is, since it's a city that there are shortages of, the government, they provide a lot of incentives sometimes for residents, for locals to start either businesses or new ventures.
They give grants.
They do.
Right?
They do give. They do give grants. So one of the things that I do want to look more is that what I can avail with the benefits now. What kind of grants can I get? That's a good way to kind of, you know, look into other ventures that I might be able to look into. But one of the things on top of my head is I do want to study again, you know.
Like, is there any particular course in mind?
You know, the thing with IT is that the industry is vast. There's different kind of topics that we could look for.
It keeps evolving.
We do. One of the things I'm looking at sometimes is cybersecurity, because it keeps getting sponsored to me. Sometimes you get like it's getting pushed with like the ads and stuff, and I do kind of want to check it out, see if what my future there is too, you know. And then we have like new things right now with like ChatGPTs, AIs.
ChatGPT, the AI.
Yeah, neural networks, big data, and all that. Yeah, it's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. And now that since I'm a resident now, I have more access, more resources to help me with that. It's a good thing here in Australia that you do get support when you're a resident, you know, versus sometimes when you live in the Philippines, we don't sometimes feel the presence of support of what you can do.
Yeah.
Like
lack of resources.
Lack of resources.
Even though the government would want to, but they don't have enough resources.
Or even if we do have resources, sometimes it's gate kept by either, you know, somebody or something that, you know, you have to either know someone or either, you know that?
Those challenges.
Yeah. So versus here, where if you have a benefit like that, it's open for everyone. You don't have to worry about, you know, I have to fight for somebody, I have to fight for this one.
All right.
You know, like if I ask for the benefit, and if you do apply, you do qualify for it, you're probably going to get it.
Okay, so the benefits of being a permanent resident here is you are also entitled to Medicare, right?
Yeah. I finally got my my long-term Medicare, because if you're depending on sometimes you get like the interim Medicare cards when you're still in the bridging visas part.
Oh, all right.
Now I finally
like
got
while your application is still being processed
while
or
still
assessed.
being processed. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the interim Medicare.
Yeah, that's only go for like 1 year. You have to reapply every year. They just send you though. They just send you the card. Everything is.
But you still get the card, and it says interim card.
Yeah, and it's
Alright.
it's valid for 1 year. But the thing is, when you live here in Australia, everything is efficient. You know, you don't have to wait for long lines. You don't have to. Like the experiences of, like for the most part, anyone who's in the Philippines or anyone in an Asian country for the most part that doesn't have efficient governments, they know what it feels like to like wait in line for the whole day only to do something that could have been done in 20 minutes.
So how is it applying for Medicare? Is it
Everything was online.
Everything is online.
That's what I like here. Everything is online. I've never, like the only time I've stepped foot in a government office here was when the first time I applied for my driver's license. That's the only time I've stepped foot in an office here. Everything has been done online for me.
You have to visit in person.
Yeah,
because I'm planning to apply soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because with mine, it's different for everyone. But I did a conversion with mine. I converted my New Zealand license to.
Oh, right.
To Australian. Like, if you don't have like a corresponding license, you might have to do a test and the exam. With mine, I didn't do a test and exam. I just did a direct conversion.
Right.
But that's the only time I've stepped into a government office. Everything is online. I've done everything online, like the Medicare, it's all online. When I renew so the license here for drivers are all 10 years. When I did if I pay for my insurance or anything, it's all online.
It's also online. Yes, I can attest to that. I also pay my insurance online. Plus, other than the Medicare, one of the benefits also, if you are planning to study, is like you get the domestic rate. Like you are, because if you are an international student, you pay at least 3 times higher than the domestic rate fee or the tuition fees being paid by domestic students. So those are two of the most beautiful benefits of being a permanent resident. And other than you cannot vote, right? Yeah,
and you don't have the passport yet. You know, like if you come from a country that has a strong passport, that's fine. But if you come from the Philippines, the passport is always an attractive option. Like you don't have to apply for visas. So you go to the U.S. You don't have to apply for visas. You go to Japan. Versus like with the Philippine passport or any other country that you might come from. The hassle and the stress of lining up or like applying for your visas, applying for your gathering all the documents and everything.
That's beautiful. So, once you have become a permanent resident, the next aim, of course, is becoming an Australian citizen, right? So, do you intend, of course?
Oh yeah,
That's
definitely,
the next
definitely.
Like how long? Just to give people an idea, from becoming a permanent resident, how long you'd have to wait to become a?
Normally, on the day that you get granted your permanent residency, you need 1 year of a valid residency stay. That means the day that you get your residency, you need to stay in the country for 1 year. Doesn't mean you can't leave. You just need you just need to accumulate the time of 1 year. It's not like some other countries where you can't leave. I don't know why they do that, but I think some countries, if you want to apply for like permanent residency or citizenship, sometimes you can't leave the country. I'm not sure if it's the U.S. or some other ones.
Like you are supposed to stay inside the country.
Yeah, you can't leave.
No overseas travel.
That's what that's weird, right?
Really?
I don't know why. Like I mean, if you think about it logically, like I wanted to be a resident here, so I definitely am going to come back. Why can't I leave? But like for Australia, like once you get your permanent residency, you can leave the country anytime you want. You just want to accumulate that 1 year of living here. Then, like with me, I got mine on December 12, let's say. And if I had never left Australia, if I didn't go on holiday, I could apply for my citizenship on December 12 this year. And then normally you have to wait like between 4 to 6 months, depending on the workload of home affairs and all that, until you get your next step of the citizenship, which is you have to do an exam. You have to do an exam, and then if you pass the exam, I think that's when you have to do the oath taking after.
The oath taking after.
Yeah.
If you're already a permanent resident and you just want to travel outside Australia, do you have to apply for a permission to travel, like a bridging visa? No more. And how long should you be out of Australia? Like, is there any maximum period? I think it could be like 3 months.
I'm not exactly
I'm
sure.
not sure about that. Yeah.
On that specific, because I've only been a permanent resident
Just
recently. You know, like it's a new thing for me.
Any?
But I don't think they have restrictions on you. You
Yeah,
can
because-
stay as long as you want.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
and
think
enjoying the
maybe
benefits.
maybe if you're staying like more than a year, that might be a
That
different
could be
scenario.
questionable.
Yeah, but then like maybe 3 months, 4 months, that should be fine.
Yeah.
Because technically, I guess mine, I was gone for 4 months,
Mm.
and then I had no issues coming back home.
Do you plan to becoming an entrepreneur here, like establishing your own business?
If possible,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like there's always opportunities that's available for everyone. You know, there's a lot of different ways to earn money, make ways, especially here in Darwin, where you know you might find a grant that suits you. There's different grants. The good thing here is that there's different grants for different industries. You could be in arts and you can get a grant. You can be in food and you can get a grant. You know, so they try to.
The Northern Territory government is very supportive.
They try to diversify the people that do come in here. So if you're planning on coming here, just know that there's probably something for you. No, you don't have to be scared.
There's
like
always
oh,
a place for everyone.
yeah, you can. You don't have to be scared. Like oh, what if you know I can't find something there? If we're gonna find something here, that's for sure.
What are the festivities that you look forward to here?
I wasn't sure if it was canceled, but one of the
Which one was that?
I think it was canceled last year. I know it wasn't canceled. It was canceled like during the pandemic. But one of my favorite ones would be the Greek Glenty.
Oh,
So
yeah, it's a huge event here. I heard.
Yeah, because we have a sizable Greek population here in Darwin. You know, a lot of the Greeks they moved here after Cyclone Tracy, if I remember correctly, and they started building a lot of the buildings up. We had like this massive cyclone back in the day here in
70s, I think that happened back
yeah,
in
in
the
Darwin,
1970s. Yeah.
and a lot of the buildings were destroyed, and I know they were the ones that kind of helped bring.
Rebuilding Darwin again. Wow.
And one of the biggest festivals here would be the Greek Lenti. And you know, like if you've
So
never,
it was cancelled last year?
I think it was canceled 2 years ago. I think they brought it back last
right.
year, if I remember
Oh,
correctly,
right.
because of the
That's good to
pandemic.
hear.
So you know, if you like food, especially if you've never had Greek food, you should try.
I never tried any Greek
Oh, you should try some Greek food.
How
It's
is
good.
it? Can you briefly describe?
So if you like the desserts, one of the things I like is like these honey puffs. I'm not sure if it's called the lukumades, but it's kind of like honey puffs with honey, and it's a very sweet dessert. That's a good one. And then you can always have the gyros, which is kind of like, what do you call that? It's not really a sandwich. It's like a wrap with like beef and meat in it, you know, like veggies.
Wow. That's the thing here in Darwin. We have a lot of food choices.
With, you know, because Darwin, we always have a lot of different immigrants here, different migrants. So the cultures, the cuisines, there's always going to be available. Like with me, the favorite ones I eat here would be like the Greek, Vietnamese. We have
The Vietnamese, yeah.
we have a couple of new Vietnamese restaurants opening up, which are good. You know, you can go around with pho, some banh mi, and all
I'm
that.
also seeing a lot of Thai restaurants.
Thai, yeah.
down
One of the
road.
oldest, one of the earliest, like the oldest restaurants here is a Thai restaurant over in near the Coles. Yeah, I kind of forgot the
Near
name.
Coles? Yeah. I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I kind of forgot the name, but they're one of the oldest restaurants here. Like ever since I've been here back, they've been here.
Alright. So, do you have any plans of moving to another state, like, building another career to another state?
We'll never know.
think so?
You know, maybe in the
Are you
next
looking at that possibility?
maybe in the next 10 years.
Oh.
We'll never know. You know, I don't want to say yes. I don't want
Yeah.
to say no because.
Yeah.
If a job opportunity comes up and they ask me to move and I feel like it's a worthwhile move, then I'll probably, you know, I haven't been to a lot of the states yet. I've been to Canberra, I've been to Sydney, I've been to Melbourne, I've been to Perth. And, you know, I think the favorite one I had was Canberra. Like, I think I saw you in one of the episodes you said about Canberra and
Yeah. I had the opportunity to visit Canberra for a training.
yeah, with me I had to renew my passport.
Oh,
Mine was during the pandemic, so we have normally our embassy would be in Sydney, but I did the Canberra one because it's a smaller city, you know. And back then with the COVID with pandemic, I tried to avoid Sydney because it was more populated. place. But I love Canberra. I love,
Same.
it does get a bad reputation sometimes with some of the Australians because there's nothing to do. But for me, I do like the quiet feeling.
Same.
The best way I could describe it would be like, if you've been to New Zealand, Canberra is like a good look. Like with the forests, with the trees. I like nature. Back then, I used to like walk. I used to run in the forest. It's one of the things I used to do a lot. I used to like explore sulfur pools, the forests. One of the things I used to enjoy. And Canberra kind of gave that same vibe to me. A bit more quiet, a bit more relaxed.
I agree on that.
Yeah. Then Melbourne is also a good. I like Melbourne too. It's a bit more
Coffee
organized.
culture? Is that correct? That's what I heard.
Yeah, it is. It's a good coffee culture, but with the way I look into Melbourne, it felt more organized. Everything felt more in place. I think it was more planned. But yeah, there's a lot more cities to see in Australia, and if you ever do to come here, I feel like every city is something worth to explore.
All right, do you have any final message, especially for those who are aspiring to become a permanent resident here in Darwin, Australia?
I think one of the biggest things would be just to make sure that you find a trustworthy migration agent. I would have been able to get this far if it wasn't for meeting like Miss Carol, meeting her team, meeting the enhanced NT. Like if that never happened, if I've never met Miss Carol, I don't think I would have had the knowledge and resources that was able to push me this far into being a permanent resident and eventually being a citizen.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
All right, that wraps up our episode for today. Again, we are Enhanced NT and we are located at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin. Our email address is skills@enhancednt.com.au. Telephone number 0879792352. Please like, subscribe, and share our social media platforms. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify. Thank you for joining us on this video podcast. Here at Enhanced Down Under, we will help you choose the right path for your career goals. Thank you, JAIRUS, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Up until next time.